So the next item is really around the space for civil society and accountability. I think, one of the greatest achievements that can be exemplified by my experience of the 2015 Sun Global Gathering. So in 2013, when I went to the Sun Global Gathering, most governments were saying, but why should we be working with civil society? And in 2015, we had over 2/3 of governments, like a huge expansion in terms of civil society representation in the national delegations, which is still a challenge, but a lot better than it was. Over 2/3 of governments were actually saying, we actually now see the added value of civil society. We see them being the key stakeholders on the ground, the ones that are going to be able to influence social change at the local level within the communities that is going to be sustainable. They're also the ones that need to hold us to account to make sure that we deliver on the commitments that we've made in an ethical and a rights-centred manner. So I think that's an area where we have definitely achieved, but there's still a lot of work to be done. The other area is around social accountability and direct citizen participation, and we've got a lot of experiences already documented in our pitch, in other resources, the Accountability Think piece, and some other recent resources developed by Save the Children that showcase some of the Civil Society Alliance efforts, the Unequal Portions report, for example. So some really good examples, so in terms of social accountability in Guatemala, in Niger, in Zambia, in other areas, so definitely recommend you going to our website and looking at those, and they're all available in 3 languages. In terms of direct citizen participation, this is an area we need to strengthen moving forward, but I do think there's already some good examples. So for example in Peru, we have got those consensus building forums that are basically focusing on the fight against poverty, but they do have a focus on malnutrition and child development. And through those forums are basically happening at all levels, from national all the way down to the local and community level. And they basically allow for the citizens to have direct interaction with the elected officials and call for commitments, but also hold to account the officials on how they've delivered on the commitments. In terms of lessons learnt and challenges, I think we obviously still see civil society space being an issue, and it needs continuous advocacy to make sure that civil society space remains open. There needs to be advocacy also for new governments coming on board to understand the importance of civil society and the importance of giving that space to civil society for in some of those key forums. I think ensuring that the multi-stakeholder platforms of the Sun Movement are functional and active is going to be an essential part to making sure civil society participation is maintained and sustainable. Then within the Sun Movement, I think we have seen that it's been a challenge to ensure civil society participation in national delegations whenever there's an event, like the recent financing workshop in Nairobi. It's always a challenge, and we would definitely like to see stronger positioning from the Sun Movement Secretariat and others in terms of making sure that nomination process is stronger in terms of calling for participation of all the relevant stakeholders, and especially civil society, as when it comes to public financing, civil society has a huge role to play in budget analysis and tracking to ensure that they have some really core data to be able to do some advocacy for increasing investments in nutrition across the different ministries and within the highest level of government, but also in terms of budget tracking all the way down from the national level to the subnational levels, and seeing whether the communities actually benefit from this budget being dispersed, actually spent, what is it spent on, and does it actually benefit the populations directly suffering from malnutrition. And this is a huge role that civil society plays, and then that's followed by the social accountability and the piece around making sure, through the citizen platforms, making sure that the governments and the local officials actually deliver on their commitments. So I think, yeah, definitely seeing, we want to continue the good work that we've been doing in this area, but we also want to make sure that there's more focus on the national delegations having civil society at their table and at the events. And also the final bit that we're definitely going to continue working on is around ensuring that civil society have a space in global forums, like for example for the SDG shaping or for the International Conference on Nutrition, really ensuring that civil society spaces are open within those forums so that the commitments and global frameworks are actually informed by on-the-ground experiences.